All right, today we're going to dive into a piece of tech that could totally change how you talk to your company's data. I'm talking about Snowflake Cortex Agents. Let's get right into it.
I mean, really think about that for a second. Your business has a goldmine of information, but it's probably all over the place, right? You've got your neat, structured data in tables, but then you've got all this other critical stuff locked away in documents, contracts, PDFs. How do you get all of that to talk to each other?
Well, this is exactly the problem Cortex agents are built to solve. The best way to think about it is like an AI copilot, but for your entire enterprise. Its whole job is to be the one you talk to, the one that can understand your questions, and then go find the answers, no matter where that data is hiding. So how does this AI copilot actually do its job? How does it figure out what you really want? And where to even begin looking? Let's peek under the hood and get a glimpse into the agent's mind. It's kind of like a data detective on a mission.
What's really cool is how simple its core process is. It all boils down to a 3-step loop that it runs every single time you ask a question. First, it plans. Then, it uses its tools to act on that plan. And finally, it reflects on what it found to decide the next best move. Plan, use tools, reflect. Let's break that down.
And this is absolutely crucial. The agent doesn't just start firing off queries blindly. Nope. First, it stops and thinks. It analyzes your request and actually builds a strategy, a multi-step plan to get you the best possible answer. So this is how it deals with those vague questions we all ask. You say something like, tell me about Acme Supplies. Well, the agent knows that can mean 100 different things. Are you asking about their products, where they're located, who the sales reps are? By thinking through these possibilities, it can figure out what you really mean and get you a much more accurate answer. The planning phase is also where it gets really smart with complex requests. Let's say you ask it to compare contract terms for 2 different companies. The agent knows that's not just one step. It automatically breaks it down into smaller jobs. First, find the contract for company A, then find the one for company B, and then analyze the differences. Okay, so after the agent takes an action, it hits the reflection phase. This is basically its built-in, hold on, does this actually make sense moment. It looks at the info it just found and decides, do I need to ask for more clarification? Should I try a different approach? Or, yep, this is it. I'm confident enough to give the final answer. So the agent's got a plan. Now it's time to get to work. And to do that, it needs the right tools to handle all the different kinds of data it might encounter. So let's open up its toolkit and see what's inside. Right out of the box, it has 2 main tools in its belt. For all your structured data, the neat rows and columns in your database, it uses something called Cortex Analyst to write and run SQL queries. But for all the messy, unstructured stuff, like text and documents, it uses Cortex Search to pull out the key insights. And the best part? It automatically knows which tool is the right one for the job. But it doesn't stop there. This is where it gets really powerful. Beyond those built-in tools, you can actually give your agent custom tools. These could be your own stored procedures or special functions that let the agent tap into your unique business logic or even talk to other systems. This makes it incredibly flexible. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Giving an AI access to all your data sounds amazing, but maybe also a little scary, right? How do you control it? How do you make sure it only sees and does what it's supposed to? Well, that's where security comes in, and it's a huge piece of this puzzle. All that control comes down to a concept called a role. And honestly, the easiest way to think about a role is just like a security badge. You get to define exactly what that badge gives access to, which data it can see, which actions it can take, all within Snowflake's super secure environment. When you're setting this up, you've got 2 main choices. The first role, Cortex_user, is pretty broad. It gives access to all of Snowflake's AI features. But here's the pro tip. The best practice for security is to use the second one, Cortex_agent user. It's much more targeted and gives access only to the agent's feature. It's all about giving the agent the absolute minimum access it needs to do its job, and nothing more. Okay, so you've built your agent, you've locked it down with the right security. Now let's talk about the practical stuff. What's actually powering all this thinking? And how does the cost work when you put your agent to work? The cost really breaks down into 3 main buckets. First, there's orchestration. That's basically the cost for all the thinking, the planning and reflection, which is based on tokens used. Second, there's the cost of using the tools themselves, like Analyst and Search. And finally, you have your standard Snowflake warehouse costs for any actual computing that happens. And what are the brains behind that orchestration? Well, it's powered by some of the best large language models out there.
from industry leaders like Anthropic Claude and OpenAI. This is what gives the agent its state-of-the-art ability to understand what you're asking and make smart plans.
So with all these powerful models, which one are you supposed to pick? Well, the official recommendation makes it super simple. Just use the auto setting. Cortex will automatically choose the best, highest quality model for whatever you're trying to do. It takes all the guesswork out of it.
So let's tie this all together. What's the big takeaway here? Think of Cortex agents as the conductor of an orchestra for your data. They orchestrate across all your data, structured and unstructured, to give you insights that are grounded in fact, accurate because of that whole plan and reflect process, and completely secure inside the Snowflake platform. This is a really powerful new way to unlock all the value that's just sitting there, hidden in your enterprise. Your data has the answers. The only question left is, what are the questions you're going to ask first? Thanks for tuning in.